The maker of his own forms, of its own forms. I use the term its. And the fashioner of its own body. Matter itself is existence, endureth without increase or diminution. Multiplied matter's self millions of times, and is manifold in forms and in members. Matter has made the universe. Matter has created all that is there is in. Matter is the creator of heaven and of earth and of the deep and of the water and of the mountains. Matter has stretched out the heavens and founded the earth. What Matter's heart conceived straightway came into pass, and what Matter has spoken, it comes to pass and endureth forever. Matter is the father of the Neteru. Matter fashions men and formed the Neteru. Matter is merciful unto those who reverence Matter. Matter hears the one that calls upon Matter. Matter knows him that acknowledges Matter. Matter rewards him that serves him and protects the one that follows Matter. This is what the Egyptologists have said, and according to the writings that they have interpreted. Now, you have accepted the interpretations of the Hebrew language, of the Aramaic language. How come you don't want to deal with what your ancestors have left written in stone? By the way, Martin Luther King, when he was going to college, he wrote a paper showing the Trinitarian concept existed in the names and the Greek names of Isis, Osiris, and Horus thousands of years before the Roman, now the modern Trinity. And now the modern Trinitarians are denying that they got anything from these ancient ones. And of course the movies that are being made in Hollywood would have us turn away from seeing these ancient Kemetic people as capable of the worship of the divine, that they worship animals. By the way, the images that so many ink has flowed against, these images served a purpose. They were not worshipped. They served a purpose of focusing the mind on a divine principle. So I just have to read that from a book. Those of you, brothers and sisters, who love Malcolm, who have read his book, don't forget that Malcolm studied a dictionary the way you would read a book while he was imprisoned. He became a master of words, and as a result, a master communicator. Nowadays, a young man living in the hood, when he uses a polysyllable, he's accused of speaking white. So brothers are helping others, young brothers, to be dumbed down, to turn away from the use of language. Words have power. And if somebody is able to rule you with their words that they have created, you are at a deficit. So therefore, you should strive to become a master of whatever language you find yourself immersed in. If you're in France, become a master of French. If you're in England, become a master of English. If you are here in America, become a master of English, because most of the dialects that we speak were taught by those plantation overseers who were sent from the jails of England. The same thing happened to the brothers and sisters in Australia, because England emptied out their jails of the most decrepit human beings on the face of this earth, and they were the teachers of our ancestors on the plantations of this country. Okay, so a lot of our language, our speech patterns, which we sometimes call ebonics, and I'm not saying that we don't have some original accents from natives here on this land, who were us, by the way, because the first people everywhere looked just like us, okay? From the Olmecs, the Aztecs, they are latecomers, and they're looked upon. And what's the other group that we like to speak about in South America? We have the Aztecs and the Mayans. Yeah. They were preceded by the Olmec. By the way, the word Olmec, they don't even know the names, but their faces will tell you exactly who they were. Right. Because their physiognomy is, you cannot deny who you're looking at when you look at the face of an Olmec.
Yeah, that's the thing about us. They always trying to make us deny our eyes.
Yes.
Like, I can see it. I don't need to know nothing else.
That's it.
Like, you can come up, you can try to justify why what you seeing, right, is not real, but I don't need no other explanation, right? So they come up with a whole entire, subjects of scholarship to try to disprove what I'm seeing with my eyes with this big nose, big lips, brown skin, and that's not a black person because the pigmentation back in the day, or maybe they just represented it that because it was hard to shape. Like, come on, man. Come on. You ain't fooling me, you fooling you.
when Graham Hancock is saying that the Aboriginal people told some of the anthropologists that the white men came. Who are these white men? The ancients were not blind, they know white when they see it. Because Africans have always daubed white paint on their faces when they went into ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? To this day, we wear white when we go into ritual. So you'll be recognized as a what? As a being of light. All right? That was the meaning of, because you want to be recognized by the spirits of light. So you would put that clay pipe on your face or on your body.
So that's where clowns get it from.
Ah, there we go.
Right.
And
you can fly on light.
People forget
the Macabre.
That's definitely interesting. Most of the rituals that we practice, most of the meaning is lost, right?
Yes.
Like,
Precisely.
as we was talking about symbols and what they mean, like, we're still very much connected to it. We talked about that with Billy Carson, like when people pray, they say amen, right? When you talk about, sunset, that's offset, right? Sunrise, that's Ra. So you're still correlating, right, the sun, right, with these ancient terms, but not even realizing, right? And that's where, studying comes from. Right, whether you call it newt and there, but we call it nut in English language.
Right.
Right, which still is correlating to the first teachers of thought and what it meant, and we just sort of changed it a bit, but don't realize the root of those things. So it's like when you see the jackal represents cunningness, right? Or you seen the snake, represents its real multiplicity because it has the two, slithering tongue. And it's not a negative thing, even though people connotate the snake with something negative, even though if you study like Kundalini sciences, then you know that snake is a representation of that energy coil within the body that can go up that system, right? That can have that inner knowing within the mind. The snake has never been a negative thing, right? But in today's society, we look at the snake as wrong, right? And
because moderners, they forget that the snake is a symbol of the divine feminine principle, which they call the Kundalini.
Right.
Okay? And so the Kushite kings wore two cobras on their crowns. The Nile Valley Africans, they were a cobra and a vulture, known as a Nepti, or the two ladies' names of the king. All right? And so that is something that everything that modern humans have ascribed to the feminine is always put down. Okay? Anything that's ancient that shows the power of the divine feminine, they're always going to find a way to put it down. There's something strange about Western man, that he wants to totally control the woman, who is his very mother. You see? And I'm here to say it's not going to last too long.
Yeah, when you look at all of the old movies, the way that the kings treat their mothers, right, and their wives, right, it's always bad, right? And I've talked about this plenty of times. It's because they didn't put any value in a woman, right? And that's why all of their statues, they were little boys, because their program is of pedophilia and pedestry, right? It has nothing to do with honoring the sacred divine feminine at all, right? And so that's not something that, you should even take lightly when you think about how that's embedded within culture, right? How, Sigmund Freud in his psychology, he recognized that there was a Cronus complex, right? He talked about the Oedipus complex, and I tell people all the time, like, that's not our complex. We don't have those complexes. they're complex, right? You know, we simple. We not that complex. You know what I'm saying? Like, we love our mothers, right? Honor thy mother, honor thy father. It's a very simple thing. And so, you know, as we are trying to re-embark on reestablishing a connection between, you know, what happened thousands of years ago, what is the importance of even knowing that, right? But before you even get into that, I want people to understand again, because you was hitting on the point of how they didn't worship animals, right? These were principles, right?
That's right.
And these were ideas, right? So you have to look in, what does the falcon mean, right? What does the snake mean? So that you can actually understand what you're seeing when there's a falcon head in a man's body, or there's a, you know, a lion head, or, you know, a falcon body. Like, this is a representation of courage and wisdom and things of that nature. It's not a representation of, you know, we worship cats.
That's it.
And some people, that's what they take it as a form of, like, oh, they worship the animals. They weren't vegans.
Again,
from what I know, was the ancient Egyptians vegans?
Well, not entirely. They ate fowl, and you would see Amentutank and his wife Atenra Ankhesenpa. You would see that she's offering him an arrow while he's in the thickets shooting ducks.
So I don't think they was worshiping animals if they was eating animals. That's all I was saying.
And I would say this too. Whatever animals they were eating is not the same kind of animals we're eating today.
Listen, when we went to Egypt, they was offering us pigeon at the restaurants now. Now out here, you know, out there it's a delicacy. Out here, you know, pigeons are the most ghetto birds
right.
in the world. And they live amongst us, and they're not afraid of human beings. So eating pigeon is like, it just don't make sense, like eating family members. Like, they always around. We feed pigeons, we don't eat them. But that's not a knock to y'all. If y'all want to keep pigeon munching, that's on y'all. But I'm just saying, when I went out there, I believe that they replaced what they said was chicken with pigeon. You understand me? Because there was some people getting plates of pigeon, and they thought they was ordering chicken. And I'm like, I ain't never...
You ain't seen one that small, right?
No, I ain't seen one that looked like that exactly. You know what I'm saying? It was Kentucky Fried Pigeon. It wasn't Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh, so what do you think, though?
And by the way, those pigeons are being fed denatured chemicals. Because don't forget, the river itself does not, the inundation of the soil that used to come in the waters is backed up behind the Aswan High Dam. That's why the Egyptians today are using chemical fertilizers, where they never had to rely on chemical fertilizers before, because 75% of the inundation of the yearly menstruation of the river Hapi was the soil that came in the waters. That dark silt that made of that delta region the breadbasket of the then known world. That's why all the foreigners wanted to conquer that land, because that's where they got their food. And that was responsible for our economic viability because of the grain. And you can see that we recently made a movie by Taki Grant, which was photographed and filmed by Tehuti Films. One of my students, I encouraged him to go with Taki Grant to Kemetic to film this film called Hapi. And because Hapi, the river itself, was the bloodline of the colony of the nation of
That's a fact.
Okay? Without that river, and that's the reason why the modern day Egyptians are a little angry at the Kushites, because they're building another dam in Kush in Ethiopia, which they have every right to do. It's their land, in order to get more power, more electromagnetic power to build their nation.
But see, that was the great thing about them, is that they understood that, you know, they can get their people to work as long as they feed them.
Precisely.
Right? And so by them mapping the stars and understanding agriculture and harvesting, they was able to feed the people. Right? You don't get to build massive projects like, you know, this pyramids without feeding the people correctly. They can't do the work.
That's it.
And so we live in places where people, like in America, there's a lot of homelessness and people starving. Right? It shouldn't exist. That is when you look at the bottom of a society, that really represents the morals of a society. Right? And the rest of it is covered up in glamour suits and, you know, fine things. But no, go look at the worst of it. That's the true humanity of any society, is those who are treated the worst.
As a matter of fact, the first foreign workers, who were the Slavic people, who were hired to work in the turquoise mines in the Sinai Peninsula, because turquoise was sacred to the Divine Mother in her name of Het Heru, known as Oshun in the Yoruba system, the Divine Mother who is a nurturing principle. Okay, and that turquoise, which represented both the heavens and the ocean, that deep blue, that turquoise waters, which you can really find when you go to the islands where I grew up, in Tortola and around Virgin Gorda and Anegada. There you will find the turquoise waters. And so the first people were the Slavs, from whom we get the word slave. And that's the reason why I insist that we were never, never slaves. We were enslaved. We were enslaved by a people who were lazy and did not want to do the work to feed themselves, okay? And got us and beat us within an inch of our lives to provide them with the sustenance that they needed. Because who do you think they brought over here? They didn't bring ignoramuses over here. Not all of us were unlettered. They brought over some of the best. To survive that middle passage,
Right.
you had to be among the strongest and the best. And to survive plantation, to survive Jim Crow, to survive the growing tendency to this racist attitude, you've got to be made of superior stuff. And I say that especially to my brothers and sisters here in America. Just because some of you have gone south, away from your true nature. I shouldn't say gone south, because south is the source, really. Both here and in our continent, because the royalty came from the south, not from the north. Okay, no matter what you've been told, it came from the south. Kush was the very, as a matter of fact, the land of Kemetic would not even be there if it were not from the soil that came in the waters of the inundation, and people tend to forget that.
What is when you say inundation, what do you mean?
The inundation is the flow of the river that was heralded every year. We used to celebrate what we call Wep Renput. Wep Renput means the opening of the year. And that was a celebration that was inaugurated in my shrine, the Shrine of Ptah, here in America. And it's still celebrated every year here. The Temple of Anu, I just went up with them upstate, I think it was in upstate New Jersey, to a reservation where we celebrated the Wep Renput, or the opening of the year. The inundation is the yearly menstruation of the river, where the waters come from Lake Tana, mixing with the waters coming from Nyanza, Victoria in the south, and together they meet in the city of Khartoum in Sudan, and then flow down as one stream. Now, this is where we get the concept of the two ladies, Ast and her sister Nebuchadnezzar. These two rivers are equated with the ones who resurrected the body of Asar. Why do you think Asar's face is painted green on some of the pictures? Because Asar is known as the vegetation, and sometimes his face is painted with a dark complexion. Why? Because the soil is dark, the food.
For those who don't know the story of, Aset and Osiris, can you give us the story?
Okay.
And I want to really get into Set as well.
All right. In the first times, our ancestors didn't say in the beginnings, because
I'm at to stop this here.
Age. We are now in the first times of the Aquarian age. We have just went
come
through
back
the
and
last
check
times
out
of
the page.
Piscean age. We went through the water element, and now we are ruled by the air element. Why else do you think the multiplication of all this stuff on the airwaves, the internet, I call it internet because
is
it's
breadwinner
an instrument
3170.
many ears and many eyes. That
money sign, capital B,
And so people are being educated because of the airwaves. They're using Bob Dylan said the answer is blowing in the wind, and this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius again. That wonderful group that always had Kemetic
that is the cash
symbols on their, what's their name? Refresh me.